Ms. Pacella is not here. Mr. Skoukis?
Here.
Mr. Trotter is also not here at this time. And so with that, we'll have a moment of silence and a pledge. United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second,
Second.
any comment?
No.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Alex, you were an aye?
Aye.
Oh. And we are going to promote Lisa. Give her a second to get on.
Oh, okay, yeah. Kids may have it delayed.
Yeah, there was a lot of delayed openings. Lisa, can you hear me?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
So Lisa, just so you know, we are at the spot on the agenda where we're going to take public comment. I will make note that there's no public here. And so we will not have any public comment. And then we're going to take nominations for chair. And Lisa, just so you know, I've kind of gotten the meeting started until we get to the point where you elect your chair. So I will take nominations for the chair.
Wait, do we have to watch Lisa stand up and do the Pledge of Allegiance by herself?
Oh, she's gonna sing it.
No, she has to sing the national anthem, right? You know.
I'll practice for next meeting. Too early.
Too early, I know.
Thank you, and I'll nominate, who do I, Ed
Ed.
Navholz.
Since I was just sitting chair, I'm wondering that
I
appropriate.
can't hear.
Do you have your mic on?
I do. Sorry.
Because
I just questioned the propriety of that since I was sitting chair. I wasn't sure if there's any protocol.
there actually is no protocol. You can be chair. I mean, give you an example on the planning commission. Curtis has, I think, been chair for probably at least 10 years. So,
Lucky
but it's up to you. If you don't want to be chair, you could turn it down. Are you willing?
I'm accepting of that.
Okay.
I second that motion.
You'll Groucho Marx.
All in favor of Ed being chair?
Aye.
Any opposed? So it carries 4-0. Ed, I will turn the meeting over to you.
Okay,
At this
great.
point, you'll want to elect a vice chair and a secretary.
Election of officer for the position of vice chair. I was thinking of appointing Larry unless Alex had an objection, whether or not Alex wanted to do another year in the vice chair. I was really wanted to put up Larry, but I'm thinking I'd like to defer to Alex.
No objection at all.
I just as soon you keep it, you do.
It looks like you did such a good job, Alex. You're stuck with it.
Yeah,
Oh.
I nominate Alex.
Great. I can second that.
Alex, are you willing to serve as vice chair?
Of course.
Thank you, Alex. Since we're in the repeat mode, I will nominate Larry to be secretary.
I'd like to give somebody else the opportunity. Given that Scott's not here. Yeah, I'll
Thank you, Larry.
Yeah,
Thank you, Larry. Perfect.
You have a second on that?
I'll make-
Second.
No, Alex does a second. I'm sorry, I apologize. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? I hear none. Motion passed. Next order of business is the minutes from the November 15th, 2023 meeting. We did not have a meeting in December.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I can second that motion. All in favor?
all right.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great, okay, so we have unanimous on the minutes. Next, moving on, report, Steve, on the treasurer's.
Yeah, as always, like December's kind of open at this point, so we don't have a full report as to where December is. What I would say to you, is that cash wise, we ended the year in a good position. In your packet, you should have had, what we call the treasurer's report. And on the treasurer's report, you'll see that in the capital reserve fund, we had about 9 million, almost 9,500,000. And then in the general fund, we had about 7,300,000. The rest of the funds are usually pretty small amounts. The number that I would bring your attention to, and the thing that we're going to spend a lot of energy trying to spend this year, because I don't want to give it back, is the $1 million that's in the ARPA account. Just so you know, I'll be reporting to the board on Monday night that the engineer and the public works director and I went out and we looked. Back up a second. The board said that they would like to spend those dollars making stormwater infrastructure changes. And so the engineer and the public works director and I went out and we looked at probably about 10 projects that would be almost shovel ready that we know we need to do something pretty quickly on. And we probably can't do all of 10 of those because it would be more money than what we have here. But so I think you're going to see that number for sure go down significantly in the next year. The rest of the funds are
Steve,
kind of.
staying with that for a second, if I
Yep.
could stop you. I was thinking about this with our torrential rains
Yes.
over the last couple of weeks, and whether or not there are any new surprises, of course, surprises being a bad news.
Yeah.
That has been unexpected, that are exasperating the problem.
Yeah, so we did have one, and it's off of 252, kind of across the street. If you were, it's across the street from the Ellis property, but more up towards the northern entrance there where you come out on Charles Ellis Drive out onto 252.
Yeah.
There's a spot across the street there that has been a problem spot back in the early 2000s. But over the last couple really big rains, we have found that the pipe that went under the road, where
It should be under 252.
under 252, and the drainage pipe, the drain that came off of 252, that pipe is separated from the manhole, and has basically created like a whirlpool in the area around the manhole. And so it's washed that, it's actually deteriorated
The
everything
underlying,
around the
yeah.
manhole. We think the manhole may have actually moved a little in that because the water was so intense. And the water flows there pretty much all the time. I think it connects to a spring. So it's like an ongoing flow all the time. And it goes right into the headwaters of Fox's Run. And actually I have a debate that it may be the headwaters of Fox's Run. I think there's a spring that's actually feeding it.
Would that fall on us or on PennDOT.
Yeah, and that's been the question, and that's what we're working through. So we've been having conversations with PennDOT. They keep saying they're gonna come out and do some work on it.
Yeah, any day now.
Any day now, yeah, and we've really been, I think, about 3 weeks working with them, trying to get them out there. They initially said they were gonna take and help do the repair. They've not been out yet to help do the repair. We've had to repair it twice now to try to make it through the storms. I think we have it set now that it at least is not washing out every storm. Obviously this last storm has been snow and not rain mostly, so it's been a little different experience. And the storm that's coming in on Friday looks like it's gonna be snow as well. So that's a project. We think we have an idea of how to address it. It's a major address.
So I was
and-
getting at, whose nickel is it?
Yeah, and the question is, where does it come and how do we do it? And the fix is probably bigger than what we're ready to take on. And so the question becomes, can we do a fix in between? It's a bad design, to be honest with you. The pipe going in is larger than the pipe coming out, which is never a good thing. And we're not really sure how that happened. And so we're trying to go through and figure that out.
Okay, I'm sorry I cut you off there.
No, that's okay.
My bells were ringing.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Hey, Steve, can I ask, what is the difference on this sheet between the stormwater maintenance account TD Bank and the stormwater maintenance GL Fund 40?
There's actually, are you asking me what the difference is in the dollar amount, or are you asking me the difference in?
No, I'm sorry. What are the two different funds for?
Well, actually, it's the same fund. So the stormwater maintenance TD Bank, that's actually what the bank balance was at the end of the month.
Oh, I see.
And the stormwater maintenance GL 40 was what the book balance was at the end of the month. And the difference most likely is some outstanding checks.
Oh, I see that now. Okay, I see. And how is that funded?
So that is funded, that stormwater fund is funded by property owners mostly, and I say mostly, there's a lot of individual property owners who have done projects at their home. And so they have, when you do anything that's above 1,000 feet of disturbance or 1,000 additional feet of impervious coverage, you have to do a certain level of stormwater management. And when you do that stormwater management, you put in whatever system you put in. And when the ones that most of us are aware of would be like the big basins on along 252 that collect stormwater. And then, so
Right.
every property owner who does that, no matter whether it's an individual property owner who does something small at their house or a developer who does the big basins that you see, for a 10-year period, they have to, at the end of the project, they have to give 10 years worth of money to do inspections, for the township to go out and do inspections on those stormwater mediations, thank you. And so that's what that money is. That is our inspection money for the different stormwater projects that have been done in town. And so the engineer has a list and they go out usually every year, for sure every other year, and do an inspection for the 10-year period. Actually, the inspections are supposed to go on indefinitely. So some of our folks have actually had this started back about 2012 time period, maybe a little bit before. And so some of our folks are actually coming up to the end of their 10 years. And we may be having to discuss like, how's that paid for going forward?
Okay.
But that's what that is.
Thank you.
One more, kind of the reverse of Ed's question. We did some stormwater projects this year.
Yes.
Do we see the results positive?
Well, what we have seen is the biggest water project we did actually was in 2022, was the culverts that we got done in Echo Valley just before the end of the year. That project went really well. And I would say what we have seen is that the erosion that was happening near those culverts, we have stopped. And we have protected all the roadways that we put in Echo Valley. And so the good news is we haven't had anything wash out. We have had a couple trees fall that we've had to deal with, but we haven't had any of the culverts fail, which really has helped tremendously. The two projects that we did just before those, one over on Poplar and one over on Clearbrook, both of those projects have been doing pretty well. What we have had a challenge with the one on Clearbrook is uphill from that project. There have been some trees that have come down that have impacted the flow of what's going into the culverts and actually caused some stuff to wash down. And so we've been having, the property owners have been doing a good job doing some cleanup, but we've also had to go in and help them do that just because of what's going on. I haven't heard how the stormwater project that we just did on Ellis Avenue worked out, because it's not completely 100% complete. When it wasn't 100% complete, we were actually worse off, which is typical, while we're getting everything in place. I think the last storm that we had, the heavy rains, it was like 99% complete, and I think it actually did pretty well. I didn't have any complaints. Now, George may tell me he got a couple that I haven't talked about, but that project seemed to do pretty well as well. We put in, I think, 3 new outlets, and then some additional drainage on Ellis, and we think that's helping. It's actually helping people on Pine Street, where it's helping, because the water is being caught off of Ellis early versus flooding the backyards in that area as much. We still have another project in that neighborhood that actually probably have about 3 that needs to be done.
An awful lot of pipe there on Westchester Pike by.
Yeah, that project is actually the part of the expansion of Westchester Pike. They put a tank in the ground. I guess it was last week or week before. I've lost track of my timing there. But like, I think it's bigger than the smallest room in my house. The underground tank that they put in. It's a huge, huge tank. I saw them trying to put the lid on it, and the lid was really large. Probably, I think the tank is somewhere around 6 feet deep and about 8 by 12 or something like that. So it's a really good size tank. And I say tank, it's an inlet, or it's a joint kind of coupling area where multiple pipes are coming into it and then going out. And so, they're hoping to get that done over the winter if the weather stays decent.
Sorry, we diverted you.
No, that's all right. You have all good questions. So that's really where we are. If you look at the numbers, the township dollars are about 19 million for the different accounts. The amount that the board has free control over, in that it was not given for a specific purpose or collected for a specific purpose, is about 16 million of the 19 million. So that's always a good number to know. Actually, a little bit higher than that. And then we're still holding about $1.5 million in escrow dollars for projects that are going on in the township. I suspect over the next year and a half, that number will start to go down, in that the big projects that are out there are going to slow. And so a lot of those dollars are going to shrink back.
The other one I was thinking about, Steve, we haven't talked about in a while, is the fire department, and specifically, a forecast of what their large equipment needs are going to be going forward, timing wise? Like, do they have an idea, like, we're gonna have to have the new truck by X?
Yeah, and actually, we had a conversation with the fire department about 3 months ago. When I say we, it was Leonard and I. Leonard and I meet quarterly, excuse me, with the fire chief and the president of the fire association, just to kind of see what their needs are, make sure that the relationship stays good between us and them and those kind of things. So they elected a new chief, and so we'll be meeting with them, I think, next week. And so what I would say there is their need for a new truck is actually now. Their pumper rescue truck, I forget which one, is in a spot where it's like right at that 15-year mark. The challenge that we have is obviously we just took on the ladder truck, and that's a 10-year note, and we're working on that. And so to pick up the other, and just to give you an idea, cost-wise, typically your ladder truck is your most expensive truck in the garage. The estimate that they gave us for the pump truck, if we bought it today, was equal to what we just paid for the ladder truck 3 years ago. It is, the costs of these things are going up astronomically fast. So it doesn't make sense to wait, and yet it makes it hard to pull the trigger at the same time because of the cost. And so we're looking at it. We're trying to figure out how to do that. Do we, take some of our funding and then start paying ourselves back? We're going to have another conversation with them. They're saying right now the lead time, if they ordered the truck today, the lead time is about 18 months to 2 years. So it means we probably need to get it moving. And if the difference of paying today versus paying when the truck comes off the assembly line, I forget the exact percentage, but it's between 5 and 10% difference. And
It's gonna be an inflation factor on the price?
it's an inflation, but if you give them the money today, they're using that to buy the parts
Oh,
as
I
they
see.
go
Okay.
along.
All right.
And so anyway, we're looking at figuring out like what's the best way to do that.
So it's a question of when.
Yeah, no, it's not a question of if, it's definitely a question of when. We've got to move forward. The question is, can we pull that trigger soon enough to make it happen in that way? But we're having those conversations with them. And that's the challenge. And that's why we're trying to build those funds that we've been talking about for years, that we've been adding to how much we set aside for fire equipment but we're in the infancy stage on the fire equipment one. I think we're doing $25,000 a year and we need about 250. So
Not gonna pay for the tires.
it's not, no, oh, that's very true. And so it's expensive. It's just how it is. And it's not getting cheaper.
It's that long of a lead time, so that's really dicey if they do have a failure.
Yeah, and obviously we could go out and buy a used piece of equipment if they had a failure of a piece of equipment and get it something in here. Like when we did the ladder truck, our old ladder truck hadn't sold yet. And while we were trying to sell it, Nether Providence, I think it was, had a truck go down. And so they rented the truck, actually not from us, but from the fire company for a period of time to have a piece of equipment going out. And
Okay.
so, they work together like that to try to make sure they're covered, but it is a challenge.
Okay.
That's really what I had for today, related to the revenue and expenses. We'll have a better feel probably at the February, March meeting for 2023, what that's going to be. I know Yvonne's working with Mike right now, making sure we get all the 23 expenditures in, and we're still waiting revenue wise. We have a couple things that come in at the middle of February that are 23 revenues. So,
That's
so like the
like-
cable franchise fee
Oh,
for the
okay, yeah,
last
yeah.
quarter, they don't usually pay it
Okay,
until
yeah, until they
early
close.
February. And then there's usually a cleanup on the LST tax at the end of January from prior year.
Thanks, Steve.
You're welcome.
I see no one in the audience for public comment. Is there any items that we should put on as new business for next meeting, as well as timing going forward in terms of meetings? Should meetings be monthly? Could they be bi-monthly? Kind of a two-pronged.
Yeah, here's what I would suggest is that on the February meeting, let's have a discussion about what you all would recommend as your meeting schedule, whether it's bi-monthly or quarterly. I think most of you would agree that monthly is probably not a necessity,
In terms of nothing going on that would.
the need. And so the challenge is that this committee was set by resolution that said you would meet monthly. So you would have to make a recommendation back to the board to say that we think we could meet quarterly or meet bi-monthly. And that once we did that, we would have to have the board amend their resolution to allow you to meet just.
And so maybe we'll put that on as an
And-
agenda item.
And then, so we'll put that on as an agenda item and then make a recommendation to the board.
Got it.
And I've mentioned it to the board. I think the
Yeah,
need for
you'll
you
be
to meet
surprised.
monthly is probably not as strong as if you were meeting it, either bi-monthly or quarterly.
Any other items for consideration for new business? All right, I hear none. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.